Now let's talk about the rib feature. So using rib feature, you can create infills or supporting structures in a solid. So in this case, we have this plate, and right inside this plate, we have this extrusion for screws, and we just want to make more of these. But as you can see, this is not kind of very rigid, and it is very likely to kind of break off from this plate. So to add strength to this feature, we can actually add ribs that are going to kind of act like supporting structures. So let's see how we can create ribs, and for that we need an open sketch. So to create that sketch, I'll start with plane, and I'll select one of the default planes here as a reference. So I'll just select front plane. All right, there we are, and flip offset, and this is exactly at the center now. So at a distance of 30 units, so here it is, the distance is 30 mm from this front plane. I've got this another plane which I have created, and now I'm going to use this plane for creating the first sketch. So I'll select the plane and I'll go to sketch. All right, as you can see, I am simply not able to see what's going on inside, so I'll change the visual style from here, and I'll make it hidden lines. All right, so that we can see these lines clearly. So now I'll go to line tool, and I'll just create a line that connects this point with this right here. All right, not only that, I'll also create a slightly smaller line here that just goes from here to maybe here. Now that's the supporting structure which we need for our rib feature. So let's exit out of this sketch and see what we have here. So at the end of the day, this is what we get, and let's once again change it back to the default view, and also I'll hide this plane so that we can see things clearly. All right, so this is what we have, just a simple line that connects this point like kind of like this to this plane, and with this we can now create the rib feature. Now for this, you don't need to actually create a line all the way through this plane, so you can also create a shorter line and eventually increase the length to connect it to this plane. So in this case, well, we have already created it, so I'll leave it like that, and I'll go to rib feature. And the first thing that you need to select is this line. So select this line, and we have the rib feature. Now it may not look like kind of any interesting sort of feature, but we will make it interesting in a moment. But the first thing is the thickness that we need to change. So as you can see, thickness is really huge. It's 10 units. So that's not what we want. So I'll just change its thickness to 1 mm and tab key. Now that's the thickness. Also, the direction of this feature is outside. So it is adding material outside, which is not making any sense in this case. And we want the material to be added inside, right, like this. So we just need to change the material direction. So select this flip material side, and the direction will flip. Now the material is added inside. All right, so with that, we are now ready to kind of create our rib feature. So click OK, and here we are. We have got the first supporting structure. This is the rib which is added. Automatically it will just figure out the point up to which it just needs to create everything, and it will create this kind of rib feature. Now that we have one of the rib features, we can just use maybe this circular pattern to create more copies of this. So I'll just quickly do that. So I'll select rib, and in the direction I'll select this circle, and I've already got 4 objects here. If not, you can choose 4 objects here and click OK, and there we are. We have got all of these supporting structures added to this, and that's how you can actually create a rib feature. Now let's talk about another example of rib feature, and for that I'll just use this again, this same plate, and I'll add infills. So infills actually add strength to these kind of hollow plates. So once again, I'll start with a reference plane. So I'll go to reference geometry plane, and using top as a reference, I'll just create another plane at a distance of 10 unit. All right, so at a distance of 10 unit, this is going to kind of add this at a height of well, 10 unit from the bottom, which looks like this. So that's fine. So that's the height which I need. So I'll click OK, and right on this plane, I'm now going to create another sketch. So I'll select plane 3, and I'll select sketch. Now here again, you can create a completely open sketch which will act like the rib feature. So I'll select line, and maybe I'll start with simple straight line like this. Now this line is exactly not passing through the center, so maybe we can just make it kind of coincident here. So select it, and you can make it coincident, or maybe just use midpoint in this case. So yeah, there we are. And also let's add a few more lines here. So I'll just add a line here and another one here, just one more line, maybe exactly at the center here, and another line right here. Now in this case, the length of line does not matter because it will actually connect it to the endpoints automatically. All that matters is the placement of these lines where these are spaced. So this is exactly at the center, and I just want to ensure that these lines are equidistant. So well, maybe just I'll make it 40 unit, and also I'll just ensure that these two are at a distance of 40 unit. There we are. All right, so with these constraints, we are now ready to create our rib feature, and of course it won't constrain it using this dimension because it's already constraining it with respect to this midpoint, so that's not required. So exit out of this sketch and now create the rib feature. So go to feature and again rib, and again it will use this to create our rib feature. Now it is adding material downwards, so that's the direction where we want to add the material, of course. And again, if you want to flip the direction, you can just check this box, it will add material upwards. So in this case, maybe let's just create that. Let's just create material upside and click OK, and this is what we are going to get. So as there is nothing to just end this rib feature, it will give you this rebuild error. So of course there is nothing here to end this rib feature, and that's what we are going to get. So I'll just flip the material side, and now it has this plate, the bottom plate, where the material will end. All right, so that's there, and the thickness once again is 1 mm. Now we can increase this thickness. Maybe I'll just make it 3 mm this time so that it's, well, thicker, kind of like this. And the next thing is the feature where it will be added. So right now it's added equally on the both sides of this sketch. So if I'm using 3 unit thickness, then it's adding 1.5 on that side and 1.5 on this side. If, however, you select this option, the first one, it's going to add all the thicknesses on just one side and then all thickness on the other side. So that's the thickness option. So I'll just select this one so that it adds it equally on both the sides. Not only that, you can add a draft angle as well, which we'll talk in a moment, but first let's just click OK. And this is the rib feature which we got. So automatically it will just create the rib feature which will extend up to all the boundaries. And not only that, it will also figure out the draft angle which I've already applied. So as you can see, it is kind of slant line here. It's not exactly perpendicular here, and it will just figure it out and connect it properly with that point. All right, let's hide this plane 3, and once again let's go to this sketch and let's just modify it, sketch 7, and I'll modify it. Not only that, once again, if you want to add maybe even more lines here, you can do so quite easily. So if you add just maybe, let's say, this line and then maybe another one here, so kind of like this, well, once again it will just add more to this. So again, if you just want to maybe constrain this, you can do that. So I'll just add a distance of 10, and here also a distance of 10 unit. So this should be 10, and there we are. Just exit out of this and we have this kind of a rib feature. Now if you want to add a draft angle to this rib feature, then you can do that as well. So go to rib, edit this feature, and here we have the draft option. Now we usually use a draft feature in parts which are created with injection molding or die casting, and these draft angles actually facilitate easily removal of parts from its respective dies. So that's why we use draft angle, and you can use a small draft angle for this feature. So here maybe I'll use a draft angle of 3 degrees. You can use any other angle if you want, but I'll use a smaller angle. So there it is, 3 degree, and also I want to draft outside. So basically it will just add kind of a pyramid shape here. So once you are done with that, just click OK. And there we are, we have got the draft angle. Now if the draft angle is not kind of apparent to you, then just move it like this. All the way from top, you can see this draft angle. So it is exactly not vertical, it is kind of moving like this. So now you can see this thing. So that's the 3 degree angle which it is creating. So this tiny angle, this tiny angle here is 3 degrees, which is deviating from this vertical line. So that's how you can add a draft angle to this rib feature. Now finally, let's talk about creating this rib feature with contours. So far we have used sketches. Now in this case, we won't use a sketch, and instead we are going to now use contours, close contours. So I'll select plane 3, which is the plane which we selected previously for creating the linear sketches, and I'm just going to create a simple drawing here. So I'll go to sketch, and maybe I'll just create a rectangle here and then a circle right here. So well, let's just do that again. So from this endpoint, I'm going to just create it like this. All right, so I've got this set of drawing created here, and with this we can now create our well, rib feature with contours. So I'll just exit out of this sketch, and now what we have here is, well, several close boundaries. So we have a close boundary here, and again another one here, and then third one here. So I'll go to feature and rib, and now here I'll just select this sketch. So this is just to start this feature, but I don't want to actually select this sketch. Now we have an option called select contours. I'll go to this one, and here I'll just select this area, or you can select any other area if you want, or even more than one areas if you want. So it's completely up to you. So I don't want these two areas, I just want this area. And now as you can see, the rib feature will be created along this close contour. So it's using these two sketches as a reference, and it's just creating it like this. Now here also you can add a draft angle. You can specify the direction in which the rib feature will be added, but in this case let's just leave everything to its default. Just add a little bit of draft angle maybe. So that's the only thing I'm going to change, and with that I'll just click OK. And here we have the rib feature. So now this has added the rib feature here using the contours. And as you can see, it has a 5-degree draft angle as well, as you can see from the top. So that's another way of creating this rib feature.